welcome back to the podcast. I've got Morgan, Mattie and Sol back with me, and we are talking about part 2 of Oasis 2. And we left off with Morgan being a filthy fucking murderer. So Morgan, what did you do after you'd committed your third, or was it second murder?
This was my third murder. So I think we left it off with, because what I did every single time somebody was murdered in front of players is I stood behind the person who was dying, or in the process of dying, smoking a cigarette and refusing to help. So that's what I was doing. The guy had dropped a sketchbook. I let the players find that sketchbook, and they turned to like a news article. And I flicked open the book. There was I don't know if this was supposed to be of Jack, but there was like a sketch of somebody with like braces and their face hadn't been drawn in yet. So I at least was like, Jack's gonna be like, is that supposed to be me, motherfucker? It's a good job I've killed you. And then found an article about stolen painting, which basically Jack was then able to make the connection between the fact that the painting was missing around the same time, and like a whole lot of money had been embezzled out of the production into something. So then he was like, okay, cool, it's probably this painting. So then Jack was then on Operation Find Painting, and also trying to hit him.
And to clarify, because we did forget to mention this before, while we had been as we were shooting in the bar, that scene earlier with all the gunshots and the cool pickpocketing, my grand moment, there had been a delivery of set pieces, and it was a bunch of paintings, and they decided to put them up anywhere. And there was one that was hung over a mirror in the bar to stop it from being a mirror. And no one thought any more about it at any point until a lot later on.
Oh my god, there's so many nice little bits that have built up over the whole weekend.
Nice is that's a really choice word for it. I'd go with treacherous.
Treacherous,
aggravating. Yeah.
I did a lot of for the rest of the time, I kept staring at the paintings and saying things like, I wonder if, and then people ask, what are you looking at the painting for? I'm like, nothing. And then inspect the back of them. And I spent a lot of time looking at the paintings quite vigorously, hoping someone would pick up some bait, or someone would be like, it's in here. But yes, that was the end of my next murder, was killing the artist, who had discovered clearly that, who had found an article of relevance with regards to, where the embezzled money has gone. I don't know really from memory what happened after that. Was there just because I know was there just loads of camp attacks then, like the fascists? What happened kind of after that? What's everyone else doing?
No. After that, there was a sort of a sit down for a bit. Now I think that was actually later, but we had a third scene to shoot. We went back over to Viking to shoot another scene. That was the stunt scene, because that was at the point where I think said I loaded my gun with real bullets, and I was like, ooh, that could be not good. But I don't think we'd had another attack, because I hadn't yet hit the point of saying I'm leaving if there's another problem.
But when we were shooting the second scene, when you guys were in the bar, we hadn't decided the location of where we were going to shoot that stunt and the third scene, which for context was a big safe explosion. So this was pièce de la résistance. It was so good. So what I had to do was I had to go over to we had a location scout. There was someone who worked in location, so we had to I went up to them and I was like, hey, where are we shooting this next scene? I need to know so that I can tell my team, because I had H and Dave and all of the Gorgon team being like, please don't send us to the bottom of fort. This safe is actually really heavy. Because it was all IC as well, so we weren't using the quad bikes. We were using wheelbarrows.
Well, conveniently, they just had the fort fight, right? So you couldn't go down there.
Yeah, exactly. So I went on a little locations recce, and it was like being at work again. I was like, excellent, we could shoot like this, we could shoot like this, and it was really fun. Did that, and then we were rigging while all of the cursed painting plots and everything else was going on. I was just messing around with all the Gorgon team rigging a really massive explosion, which was really fun.
This sounded awesome. I've only seen the pictures after the fact, but
I didn't see it. I didn't see it because they did all of the filming before, like, and all of that stuff popped off literally. And then it wasn't until much later that they said, "Oh, they're going to do the explosion," and we just heard much later just a distant boom.
Yeah, because
oh no, it's fine. That was just the SFX team.
Yeah, because what we would do is like it was a mix of things because we all turned up for the Big Bang moment and we were going to shoot the scene and then it was taking too long, icy, and then there was an in character like union enforced tea break, which was really fun.
I thought after the whole poisoning thing, I 100% thought was a plot moment for people to get poisoned. And I definitely was being like, we can't, don't drink anything. Don't drink or eat anything. Someone's going to die.
Like,
I
wasn't that concerned about that.
Yeah, why?
But it was great because
It was a big rounders for a bit.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, that was fun. But it was one of my favorite moments of the whole weekend. One of the whole weekend was that I didn't have a cup. And they ran out of cups to give to the crew. So Kitty was like, "Oh, I'll sort P out, don't worry." And went to give P, as in the character, PTP8, my character, the coffee mug filled with coffee and accidentally went up to H. Like actually went up to H to give him coffee. And then she quickly realised, oh no, wait, shit, that's not Millie. And walked over to give me the coffee, which was pretty funny. But yeah, so we had the union enforced coffee break, and then the fascists attacked, right? Then the fascists attacked.
No, but before then, we had a Baldwin moment. Yeah. Do we not remember?
Oh, yeah, I was trying to forget that moment.
I remember knowing that Jack's gun was loaded and being quite genuinely nervous about that, especially because there was a point where I think you and Callum playing George were pretending to like. Ooh, and I was like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But then everything seemed fine for ages. The first of the mayonnaise scenes was incredible, of course.
What is mayonnaise anyway?
Is this where it came from? I was so confused.
Yeah, did you not? Oh yeah. No, it was a scene in the script.
Right.
Just so you know, there was an actual scene in the script to do with mayonnaise. It was amazing. Elsie and Reese killed it. But
mayonnaise.
There was like everything was going fine and swimmingly, and everyone was quite chill, apart from Digby, as cannot remember his character's name.
Oh, God.
Was like dug down in a trench.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Like, hat on, like ghillie around. It was amazing. Everyone was like, should we be worried about that?
He also had a Bren gun as well. So for any like gun enthusiasts, like it was beautiful. And obviously it wasn't cleared to fire blanks. It was just a completely like deactivated like prop effectively. So the way that Digby figured out to get it to work was just by having someone behind him like just chain firing off a pistol. It was great.
Benny the Bren Hargreaves had quite a Foley team over the weekend for various times.
But then after that, we did get a loaded gun moment. And I think it was Clark Daytona, wasn't it?
It was Clark Daytona practicing his scene with George.
Yeah,
it was George. Yeah,
George the runner.
I was so curious how that happened. I mean, I assume someone was like, the next shot that goes off, you have to go down, to be like, it's a real one, because otherwise it was just blanks. Blank.
Yeah, they discussed it like in front of me. I knew it was happening.
Oh, okay, that makes a bit more sense. So I was wondering how they'd like telegraph that at all. Okay, that makes more sense. Oh dear. Well, it backfired on him worse than he expected then, I suppose.
Yeah, because he basically, they got surgery on him, they got him a crutch, and they got him laying down on the bench. But obviously, he wasn't very mobile anymore. Bless him.
Yeah, you can't be a runner if you can't run.
Everything changed when the fascists attacked.
I was about to make the reference. Yeah, exactly. That was wild. Running and hiding with a bunch of the other actors, like just around the corner, hearing everyone shooting guns for the first time really close by was really scary. And knowing that every time I looked out of that little lean-to, I could see people like directly next to me shooting backwards. So I was like, wow, if they take a step back, people are coming round this corner and killing us. Like, we're dead for sure. But we were not, because our security team
They really
it.
did.
And some of the actors, Clark didn't know it wasn't a stunt.
Amazing.
That's so funny.
I think Clark Daytona, I don't know about Max, but Clark Daytona had the best weekend. And I don't think he knows a single thing that happened. I don't think a single thing of that was real to him at all.
He probably won another Oscar after that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say so.
100%. Oh my God.
But yeah, the after the little gunfight ensued, poor little George died. We left him face down in the dirt as we were retreating. And it was really, God love a try hard. But he
is that kind of like out of character for runners, Millie, or was this the kind of behavior?
As soon as any kind of action goes down, you just leave the runners. Just leave them. They're the first to die. They're like they're cannon fodder in a zombie movie, basically. Just leave them.
Well, they should be able to run away.
Exactly.
That's in the name, isn't it? You expect it.
Yeah.
They can fend for themselves. That's how you progress in the film industry. But yeah, so the one thing, this is where a bit of like difference occurred. So because security were like, the fascists are attacking, we're not staying here. Like, you go. And it was a really strange moment where the whole core concept of the Oasis 2 brief was you make the film no matter what. And player motivation kind of changed a little bit because all of security were enforcing get the crew the fuck away from set. And the poor Gorgon team and I were just sat there like, no, this explosion is rigged. Like, OC, this now needs to go off. Like, this is the biggest one that we've done in a while. We're not leaving it. Like, either for a safety and also just fun aspect of it. So when everybody got back into town, we then started doing like a thing. Did Dave come over and talk to you guys about his producer spiel?
Possibly, but I think that was the point where I decided I'm leaving now. I've had enough. This is a very unprofessional set, and I'm just not interested. Actually, I'll come back when you've sorted everything out. So I think he did come over to talk to us, and I just refused to let him speak, and just said, "No, I'm
going to Tuscany.
If any single other thing happens, I'm leaving." No, I wasn't originally going to Tuscany. Tuscany was a later thing. I was going to go back to London. I was going to call my people at the embassy and get myself back to London and be like, I'm coming back when you've secured set. Who's with me? And like very few people were with me. I'd like to point out at this point, most people were like, oh no, I really like being on the movie set. Oh no, I want to get all my money. Oh, I want to fence that painting. Oh no, wait, you didn't mention that part. No, that was a secret. But no one wanted to go. I was just there like, this is insane. Yeah. I'm leaving. If one more thing happens, many more things happened in the end. And I remember Dave coming over as producer and being like, oh, it's a real shame. Like, do you want to leave? Hagen had been doing the new contracts as well. So it was about that point that Eddie handed out all of the new contracts, and I read through them and went, no. Are you kidding me? I'm off. I'm gone. I'm going. And I would have done it too if not for all of the other events that happened after this.
If it wasn't for everything else.
For everything else that follows. Yeah, literally. But what was his producer spiel then? What was he doing? Like trying to get everyone to keep
legit. It was one of my favorite most like this was the biggest thing that I associate with my job is when a poor producer gets put on the spot and like all of the cast are up in arms and then all of like everybody else is trying to like just leave or quit or do all this, and there's this one producer that just has to get shoved in front of the lion's den and be like, so I understand how you're feeling, but we need to do this.
But you know what, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Well done him, because at Oasis 1 a very similar thing happened much earlier in the day, which probably was part of the issue, but it was an NPC playing the producer. And I think he just went in way too hard, got very aggressive, like in character, and everyone was already ready to riot, so he got killed pretty fast. So at least Mr. Wednesday didn't die immediately, but I think that was also a lot of the players were more locked into we're gonna find reasons to still be here. Yeah. Everyone just decides to go. Like that was a risk I think I took when I was like, I'm gonna say I'm gonna leave now, is that everything will do it. And that's also why I waited so long to do it, really.
So
I know I'm not, if I do it now and someone says yes, let's leave, then the arrangements, inverted commas, that wouldn't never actually happen, will probably take until tomorrow, and oh no, we'll have to stay until tomorrow. So I was like, it's fine plot wise, I'm not screwing anything over.
I think from like a game perspective, I think that having like in a horror situation, you need a reason why the players can't leave, right? I think that the Eldritch Isle did it really well this weekend because we were on an island. I imagine Oasis 1 did it like again, you're on an island. What are you gonna do? Flying the Nightmare
ships, so we literally couldn't leave.
Flying Lead Nightmare always has spooky mists, so it's like you can't get out of them. I think the one thing here was like looking for a reason not to leave. I heard the Romanos basically saying they were wanting to drive away, and I was reporting that to crew. I was like, you need to find a way to stop the Romanos just leaving because they have a car. I was like, you need to find a way to stop these guys just driving off because there's no in-character reason why they wouldn't.
You can just walk into the forest. You literally could just walk into the forest and say you've left.
Yeah. Which it was one of the things where like you trying to find a way to a reason to keep that. I had my reason up to a point, which was somewhere on this fucking set there is a painting that I need. But yeah, I think that was interesting. I think you're right, Matt. You're kind of like in your head, you're like, I want to keep playing, but also I see why wouldn't I just go?
Yeah.
Which they did eventually. I think it was the police, but yeah, go on.
There was, but there wasn't. Like the police was like, you can't. They came in earlier and then they did something, and then there was a whole thing much later about you can't leave. It's an active crime scene. Yeah, but that wasn't their original intent, I don't think. But it worked out. I knew even if I did, that is, I suppose, the benefit of it being like the vintage world. Even if I had said, yeah, I've called my agent, I'm leaving, it's like, okay, well, it's not going to arrive until tomorrow anyway. So for the purposes of the timeline of this weekend, I'm still staying.
Yeah, where does your agent live? Because if it's not nearby, that phone call is not getting to them within the next fucking 2 days.
Right, exactly.
Side note about phone calls, there was some really fun, like one-sided RP that really added to it, which is the number of people that are using Eddie's telephone in the green room. Just picking it up and acting as if someone else is down the other end of the screen, and then them cutting the line a few times as we were getting towards the end as well. And then people picking it up and we go, that's cut by the way. And they're like slamming it down. It was great.
Yeah,
the phone was really awesome. Yeah, and it was a good like gimmick point for that exact reason, because that was kind of a big thing for me later on in the evening. But without getting ahead, I think we finished. I remember I've seen Ollie came over and showed us some of the.
Oh my god, it was so good.
Of the explosion.
It was so good
at dinner time.
It was.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Oh my god, it was so good. It was just really. It was really fun to be It was just
Yeah,
so
that was
good. I
such
like
a
watching
hot
things
side.
blow up and go boom. I've been trying to get on the fucking Gorgon team for so long, and I've just forced myself in. But yeah, it was really fun, and we got to my favorite thing was and I need to check with H if he's happy for me to talk about this. But we basically, when you rig an explosion in a safe, because you've got the hard back, right? So it's not an actual safe, sacre bleu. But in order to stop the box or whatever you've rigged to explode from getting pushed back with the explosions, you lay the base of it with paving stones or just some weight, so that all of the explosion is forced at the weak point, which was the polystyrene door that we had. We couldn't remember if we'd put the paving stones in the safe when the explosion was rigged. So it's definitely the Gorgon team and Millie. So there was this really fucking hilarious moment where Dave and Jay and Emma and H were all just giggling, like, if this explodes and it goes backwards, like, either way it's going to look cool, but we don't know where it's going to go. And it was just watching the Gorgon team be like little school kids at work. It was so funny. But that's the reason why the explosion kind of is pointing upwards rather than outwards, is maybe because it wasn't weighted at the bottom. But it was very fun. It was really good.
Oh, looks straight.
Yeah. But we did the big boom, and then we headed back into town to just continue with the shoot.
Well, I think it was about dinner time then, because all I've got written down was that Mr. Hagen was lying to the police. And that was a really good RP moment, because I didn't get to RP with Theo very much, playing Freddie something. I have forgotten the surname of the character. But we sort of knew each other vaguely from the first Oasis, and I barely roleplayed with him at all. But it was one of those, same as with a couple of others when I'd first entered set, been like, oh, hello, how are you? How have you been? And we're like, okay, so now we know each other, I guess. So I was like, okay, cool, I trust this guy. And immediately Eddie started lying to the police, like straight away, and just went, oh yeah, there's no body. There was like, we were shooting a scene last night, and just looked at me like, right? And I was like, yeah. I went, oh no, I've just lied to the police. This is crazy. Had a whole little side thing with Freddie of being like, why are we lying to the police? I'm like, just go with it. Just go with it. I trust it. I was like, okay, I guess I trust Mr. Hagen now. And then the police asked about the body, and some member of crew walked past and went, oh yeah, that body, I buried it. And the whole thing fell apart immediately. It was excellent to watch poor Eddie's face be like, oh, no.
My wonderful friend Andrew, who was playing Alicia, had a fantastic weekend of speaking to every member of the press, every police officer, and telling them everything. Because she was like, this is silly. And she just told them everything all the time, constantly. It was so funny.
And I was constantly having to go back to the press and tell them, you've got enough. Go, shoot, shoot.
She was like, yeah, I'll talk to you, police officers. I'll talk to you, press. Yeah, let me tell you everything's happened on set.
You got to share the juicy gossip around. There's not enough for all of us.
You want to get
it was amazing. Like, honestly, put press in front of a bunch of actors. It was hilarious.
Except me. Don't talk to me.
You with your script in your face, yeah. That was really good. And then as we were sat there, Sol walks back into camp. I was like, oh my god, you're alive. Thank God.
4.5 hours later, we return.
Yeah.
With 3 stitches.
3 is very much a lucky number.
Yeah, I think so. It was honestly, I think when I was going away to A&E, I'd kind of written off the weekend and gone, well, that's a real shame. But coming back in with a finger stitched up, bandaged up, and just sort of getting right back into it was nice. It was
good. We had a little bit of din-din.
Oh my god, the paella.
Rice din-dins. Oh my god.
It was so good.
Paella was incredible. I just remember walking around the corner after dinner and seeing the Romanos there with Clark, and they had like an empty, massive thing of spaghetti already, and then a whole fresh paella on the table. It was enormous. I couldn't believe they'd made that on site.
I think this was a really funny moment. So Gianna had sent 2 messages out the night before, one to Clark, one to Jack. And then after finding that Clark was so rich, was basically like, I'm gonna get with Clark because he's richer. Now Jack was upset by this, naturally. Was bitching about Clark Daytona to no end. Doesn't even know his lines. What an unprofessional. You can tell this man bought his way into Hollywood. Just relentless, just like, who does this guy think he is? And then after the painting incident, I went to Kitty. I was like, hey, Kitty. So an interesting story is developing slowly. I would like to know how you feel about me using the painting to fence through the Romanos to impress Gianna Romano. And she was like, fuck yeah. So I was like...
When did you find the painting then? Had you already found it by dinner?
I hadn't found the painting yet, but I knew where it was.
Right.
No, I knew it on set. Before dinner kicked off, I was sat next to Nina Romano, and I was just chatting, and she was like, look, Gianna's a simple woman. She likes a rich man. That's what Clark is. You're just not, you know? And I was like, yeah. I was like, also, how good are you at getting things out of places? And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, are you... And basically she was like, yeah. I was like, okay. I might come back to you, but I hate to, as much as I hate to deprive you of finer company, I should leave because it looks like Clark is here. And then I leave. And I'm like, cool, could have some dinner, let that stew for a bit. And then basically my plan was to get the painting to the Romanos and fence it once I found it. But that was kind of what was going on there. It was quite fun.
I'm trying to remember at what point we had the hand and foot conversation. I think it was just after dinner. But that might
Oh my
be
god,
better
I do
saved
not
for
want to know.
in a field conversation, if anyone's curious.
Oh god.
Don't worry about it. We'll tell you in person, maybe.
So, I'd come back into town, having been to A&E, and I'd been given a quick heads up that there was a bit of plot for me earlier on in the day that they've had to push to now that I'm back in. Just go in and we'll see what happens. So I head in. I think it was just after we'd finished dinner. So I head in, and then Becca in a bowler hat is the only way I can describe this NPC. Walks in and goes, oh, all right, Freddie. Good to see you again. Full on, like, awful English accent. Making it very clear that this person's out of place. Got a message for you, hands me, secretly, but has already declared that it's happened. A telegram from the Home Office. I wish I had it on me right now so I could tell you what it said, but essentially, paraphrasing it, there is someone here who is a member of the Dillinger gang who has taken part in a grand bank robbery, and he's wanted on multiple accounts. Regarding that, I went, what do you want me to do with this when I find out who that is? Just let us know, and we can come and collect. I was like, okay. So I then kept that on me. My intention was to get rid of the telegram, just in case at any point it came out. And so I headed all the way back to my tent to try and find something to just write something down in a bit more secretive language, just in case, do it properly, code it a bit, make sure that I've covered all my tracks. At which point I turn to Pete, who was playing Charlie, one of just the general dog's bodies on set, and I go, how do you feel working for the Crown, Charlie? At which point, I essentially start hiring all of the English people to work for me. We came up with a nice little cipher, wrote all the information down, and got him to keep an eye out. So for the rest of the weekend, I was keeping an eye out for anyone who perhaps was dropping hints about, I don't know, doing a bank robbery recently, going by another name. And let me tell you, listeners, it was really not difficult by the end.
Yeah.
They were. I essentially had every single member of the security at some point during the weekend decided to confess to me what crimes they had committed, what their real names
God.
were, and it was really impressive.
Was it hard to figure out which one it was? Because so many of them could have been it.
Unfortunately, I may or may not have read a lot of the Facebook threads prior to the game, so I knew exactly who it was.
Right.
But I also knew Charlie didn't, so I kind of left it up to Charlie to work out. And there were so
Right.
many times during the rest of the game where both Charlie and I were there, and the guy Russell would say something, and we'd look at each other and raise eyebrows. It was great. We had lots of conversations about it. We definitely could have gotten caught, but we kept it nice and chill.
I think something I really enjoyed was seeing all the little bits they did for like some players like that. So obviously people who came in as different characters, they're like, oh, we'll throw this towards you, and there's this going on as well, which I thought was good fun.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, and then I get a telegram. That's awesome.
How did they know you were a British spy? Did you put that on your post? Was that like public information?
As part of my post, I put I am most definitely obviously English, most definitely and totally
Amazing.
not, I promise, an SIS agent undercover on operations in Europe.
Yeah, sure, okay.
So yeah, they knew.
I wonder
and the
how
other best
many.
bit is all of the security knew as well, apart from the guy who I was tracking. He had.
Did they know IC or just OC?
All of the security knew OC.
Yeah.
Apart from, again, as I said, the one I was actually tracking.
How did he not know?
Freddie, well, just because he didn't pay attention. Freddie and Digby.
Hubris.
Sorry, Eddie and Digby obviously knew, and so right at the very end at the denouement, which we'll get to, like, ooh, and here's the English SIS agent. Way. So I won, I think. In terms of all of my character goals, I actually did win, but you can't win a lot.
You can win a
having
lot.
a great time.
I won Oasis 1, you can win Oasis 2, it's fine.
I then spent most of the rest of the evening up until an important part just sitting back in the green room, having a chat with people about what had happened, going over the evidence and sort of putting things together. So Moira had actually at that point after dinner started taking down everyone's dreams and noting them down, and we're trying to piece it together. And yeah, we were just doing the sort of
Moira over the course of the weekend was
investigation
amazing.
stuff.
Like, I loved the way that they were working. Yeah. But sorry, Morgan, you go.
Scarlett's amazing.
No, I was just saying, I think that because we had dinner, was kind of just chilling until the rushes came out, I think, mostly.
Oh, they were setting up the I think everyone wanted to go play more blackjack. Certainly I did.
And then we had
But they were setting up
a big
shop in the
production
bar,
meeting
so
as
we
well.
Couldn't. So I think people were kind of
Yes.
between the remote table and also we watched the Foley for a while. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Making silly
So
noises.
somewhere between somewhere between the like us watching the rushes and not the rushes, the Foley scenes and the weird thing that happened in the bar, I approach Nina Romano and I say, Nina, I have an investment opportunity for you that's in the bar. Can I ask you to join me in the bar? And she was like, yes, like really confused. And I start rifle. Oh, I picked up one of the paintings already and moved it to somewhere more prominent again, just to be like I'd been inspecting and looking at it. Anyway, bring it into the bar, pick up this painting and slam it on the table, close the door to the bar. And she's like, what's going on, Jack? And I'm like, come here. And like plunge my hand into the painting and rip it open. Like OC. Like fucking Ren, who was playing Nina, just looked at me and was like, it's fine, I've checked. Rip the painting open. And there beneath is this painting that we've seen in the article earlier. And Nina just kind of looks at me and goes, what's this? Pull it out and a receipt falls out saying the painting was sold for $134,000 10 years ago.
Bloody hell. And
I just looked at her and went, can you get this out of here for me? And if you do, we'll split the money. And she was looking at you could just see like dollar signs in her eyes, like, I mean, they
Do you
went
think
for the.
she knew then that you were crew?
I don't know. No, she didn't. She didn't. No,
Oh.
they didn't know I was crew, but they looked at the painting, looked at me, and we made a deal. And I was like, "Can you hide this, and we'll get it out of here?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." Made a deal. And then now the painting was in the players' hands, which was very cool. I was like, "Cool, players have got the painting." I then went around and then started making lots of loud comments about, do you know what? I think we should leave it here. I'm done here. Oh, do you know what? I don't care about getting paid anymore. It's fine. I don't need the money. We'll just leave. Let's leave. I think we should leave now. But no rush. Whatever. We'll get it done. That'll be fine. That was the big thing I did. So that was the next move Jack made, was getting the painting out off the island. And gave it to the players. Gave it to some people who'd be able to fence it for me.
All three of us are shaking our heads at you very vigorously, Morgan. I hope you know.
Yeah.
I also discarded the painting, the destroyed painting, where people would find it. I was like, I want people to find the destroyed painting and go, what the fuck has happened here? So put it somewhere someone would find it. Yeah. So yeah. Sorry, folks. Look, I needed that painting out of there. You know,
Yeah, that bloody painting.
had to go. You know,
the number of times I stared at that empty frame for the rest of that event was silly, because they'd hidden it well enough past that. Like, we knew we were looking for the painting. We knew we'd looked in the right place. And the other thing is they re-hid it right in a box under the bar.
They hid it really well. Kitty had to show me where it was.
Exactly. We just didn't know where it was.
So it wasn't in that box the whole time.
Wow.
And the box wasn't in that location the whole time. The box, It was in the picnic basket on the side.
Oh my God.
For ages. For a bit, it was rolled up and put in a tube just in the bar. Like, if you'd looked in, you'd have seen it. For ages, it was findable. Like, if you looked at the right thing. Was. Because again, the thing here was, like, I didn't want this to be like MacGuffin sealed away. I wanted it to be like, players can stumble across it. I didn't know if the Romanos would end up revealing where it was. It was just very cool. But yes, no, it ended up getting hidden again.
All of this was just going straight over my head because I was drinking in the bar with all of the other film crew.
But what happened in the bar?
So we were called in for a emergency production meeting. So all of the heads of departments were in there, like all of the basic film crew. We were kind of keeping the cast away because you don't want the cast to know just how cursed this film shoot is. You want them to be on side. So everybody was chilling in the bar. We were just talking about the plan for the next day, what we were going to do. And as you were saying earlier, they were rigging a new set for tomorrow. So the premise of the thing was we were rewriting the scene to be in the bar so that we were safe in town. And they'd rigged this backdrop. And I always get so suspicious when there's two people operating pulleys on either side of the curtains. So like what happened was we were all just talking, having a lovely time. Suddenly this red curtain just drops and there's and Harry fucking Knight is
Harold K. Knight
is being hung from the neck with the old voice, the megaphone type thing that then says it says the title of the film that we were shooting before. Was it The Devil and the Dancer?
Yeah.
And we're all screaming, we're all like being like, what the fuck? PT's like, this rehearsal's great. The curtain then gets raised up and Harry, as quick as anything, gets out of the noose and runs out of the back, and the curtain drops again to reveal that nothing was there.
God, he's perfectly sized for that noose, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's
he fits right in the
So threatening. That was so threatening.
No, I just literally mean he's perfectly sized for the harness. Yeah. So he's always in it.
It's just whenever they bring out that harness,
serial killer comments, Morgan.
It's just scary.
Did they actually hang him Like, as in he was actually suspended
Yeah,
then.
yeah. He was about a
Have you not
meter
seen
off the
pictures?
ground.
I can't. They're not far back enough to see his
Yeah,
feet.
he's fully
Yeah.
off the ground in a harness.
It's
cool.
like it's
That's very
totally
cool.
safe. It's really cool. If you watch Sherlock Holmes, you know how they do it basically with the full body harness rigged up to a hook in the back. So it's like it's totally safe. But the thing that I really liked was all of the NPC film crew were like, I didn't see anything. So then it created this whole like hallucination thing, which was really cool. And so PT, of course, is no stranger to hallucinogenics. So he was just walking around pretending like nothing had happened because he never wants to tell people that he's high out of his mind.
Were you high for this? Was your character high?
Yeah, like he was a chain smoker. There's
Oh my god.
no sane or
I had
sober
no
man.
idea.
No sane or sober man would ever light dynamite sticks and throw it into a bar. or walk around with a lit dynamite stick.
I thought you were just regular insane, you know? You were high and insane.
No.
Okay,
just a guy who's been around too many chemicals in his line of work.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah, just a bit of a sparky, you know?
But then after that, my next thing was the rushes. So did anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I had a few things before that. It looks like Mattie, you also had something before that.
Did I? What have I written down?
Something about Hagen cutting wires.
Oh, yes. Oh, actually, yeah. I've forgotten a lot of sort of Hagen plots. So I actually had a pretty consistent like RP with Eddie. Because weirdly, from pretty early on, we didn't butt heads, but I was pretty firm with the stuff that he was doing as security, and I kept going to him, and he actually seemed to respond pretty well. We ended up with a really nice, like, weirdly respectful relationship for all the good it did, but, you know. So I remember going to him and being like, he had asked me, and I think actually this might have been when he asked me, because I said, I'm leaving, otherwise I need to leave. And he'd gone, oh, well, unfortunately, the phone lines are cut. We think the communists did it. I was like, oh, sorry, yeah, the fascists. I think the fascists did it. And I was like, did the fascists do it? And he went, no. And I was like, so how am I supposed to call to get out here? And he went, we can fix it for you. Just don't tell everyone about that. And I was like, sure, okay, whatever you say. And he went, but you should also consider staying, or at least staying until tomorrow, because you might be able to just get you out, but by tomorrow we might be able to figure out a way to get everyone out. And I was like, man, it's a big ask. It's a big ask, but I'll consider it, you know? We'll see what happens. Which really came back in a beautiful way the next day. But I went, okay, that's great, wonderful. The phone lines are cut, I can't call. And then later on, more on that later, after whatever it was that happened next. What happened with you, Sol?
So I said that we would sort of doing some theory crafting. It wasn't, to be fair, I messed it up a little bit. We weren't theory crafting about the rest of the island, but it was definitely about the dreams. So Moira was taking down everyone's dreams. And I think we talked about a few of them. Like I had one where I'd lost my face. I had another one where I drank something and choked to death. Other people have ones about being chased through the forest by something. Both what sounded like soldiers and gunshots, people being shot. But another person was like definitely about a bear. So we were like, there is a lot of things that could go wrong here. There's a lot of things that are set up. And then one in particular was about a fire on set. And how there was a big fire on set and everyone in one of the buildings as it was in there as it burnt down and a lot of the crew died. And so we were going through this and going, well, we're linking some of these deaths up already that have already occurred over the past event. And then we were like, oh shit, everyone's got to be in the room for the rushes. Oh no, we're not going in the room. We are not going in the room. And this was like an hour before the rushes. We sat down as like the security gang. Like we had Freddie and Freddie, we had like Hagen, we had Benny, we had Moira, and we were going, we're not going in that room. It doesn't matter what anyone says.
Oh.
We can't risk it. So we'd already been building up our fear, right? And anyone else who asked, it's just like, do we trust them? Do we not? Let's just see what happens. And then the crew started getting a bit touchy. So as in, they were saying, oh, you must be there. And we were like, we don't want to be there. And they were like, no, you should be there. And we were like, but we're not going inside. Yeah, but
maybe we don't be there. Yeah. Were you leaning through the windows?
So that's what ended up happening, is we were going to just wait sort of outside by the doors in the street, just in case anything goes down, get people, we were assuming fire or something, like something within there, people rush out, we don't want to be in there. But they were like, you can't be in the street. So we're like, okay, well, we went around the side. So we actually, as everyone funneled into what is the chapel on site, right? It'd been set up with loads of benches. It'd been set up with the projector so that they could show off the rushes, the footage of the film that we had been filming all day. Most people were sat down on the benches. There was a small gaggle of us sort of standing right outside the back, looking through the windows. So I think it was me, Benny, I think it was Russell, and then Freddie, Moira, Hagen. And also, Charlie just happened to be there, but he was just there because there wasn't any room. We were peering in through the back.
That was really atmospheric, really actually, with having everyone sat and then having people looking through the windows as well. It kind of felt great.
I genuinely think this is probably the most immersive scene I have ever been at.
I really, really encourage people who are listening to go now to the Oasis 2 Facebook page and find the 2 videos on there. One is of the Foley footage and one is of the scene that we're about to describe, which was just...
I've got so chills good. Thinking about it.
We were sat in there. We were sat in there, and I knew spooky shit was coming, but not precisely what was happening. It was about this time that Gianna Romano plonked herself down next to me and was like, hey, here, you're about to come into quite a bit of money soon, Jack. Do you want to have a little chat?
Was it? Oh my God.
Oh no, she'd already approached me.
No, that has to have been before. Because
she'd already.
There was a bit just because it came back later twice. Lydia, who was played by Circuit, it was Lydia's first time on a film set, like this little ingenue, super sweet, super helpful. When I'd been running around talking to Eddie, I'd made specific note, like earlier on in the afternoon, Lydia had gone running off with the Romanos to talk to some Spanish locals, and I'd been really nervous about it. It's like watching to make sure she came back. She did, it's fine. So I'd gone up to her after the Eddie thing, and Hagen, I keep confusing names and character names, and been like, Lydia, like, if anything, I'm gonna make sure you get out of here. Like, no matter what, come with me, or like, we'll figure something out. So I'd made this promise, which came back later. And then you were having all your chats, but we went and sat at the end. I had the bottle of port at this point, by the way, so I'd opened the port. It was good port. And we were all sat at the end. It was before the rushes even started that Tuscany came up for the first time.
So, yeah.
It was Gianna's hen too.
G had already decided, hey, I'm going to start talking to this Jack fella. And then we talk about how it was her hen do. And, she's allowed to enjoy herself on a hen do, you know what I mean? So she was allowed 5 people on a hen do. So she was selecting her 5, as it were. And we were all sat together on this bench, just the most like silliest, like we're gonna go to Tuscany and we're gonna.
Well, no, okay, right. Now I remember this a lot. Yes, you were sat between me and Ruth were like, "Hey, we're gonna have this chat, and also you're here." So you sort of got included by default, which was hilarious. But she was talking about like, oh yeah, I can have like 5 or whatever. But like, oh, I'm gonna take it. We're gonna go to Tuscany or something. I was like, well, I've got a house in Tuscany, and I was like, you could probably do better though. Why don't you just leave him at your house in Tuscany? You can come to mine. At which point Ruth went, ooh, funny, lock in, and I could just see that immediate change, and I was like, yeah. Suddenly, for whatever reason, it was like, cool. Well, do you want to be number 6? I was like, cool. Well, yeah, of course I want to be number 6. This is hilarious. I remember turning to you and being like, oh, what number are you? And you just went, 4. I was like, okay. And about 5 minutes later, again before the rushes, I distinctly remember her turning around and being like, yeah, so I'm going to have a great hen do. What are you two doing later? And it was like, ha ha ha, the rushes are on now. Immediate tone change.
Also, every time
Mad.
Clark Daytona heard Giada flirting with someone, he went,
Oh no!
Oh my god, yeah. We were watching the Foley way earlier.
he was just making kicked puppy noises every time Giada spoke to somebody else in a flirty manner.
That was probably when you two were flirting, because I remember telling him, like, don't worry, you can like aim higher. He was like, maybe ankles. This is a reference for the other reference that we're talking about. So maybe ankles. I was like, you could probably aim higher than ankles, mate. Like, at which point I decided, like, nah, Gianna, you're way too good for this guy. Absolutely. And then the rushes. Right.
Well, it's so good.
The peak.
So good.
The peak of the Larp. The peak.
Who's going to go over it?
Well,
Millie,
for anyone who doesn't know, rushes, when we talk about them, are unedited footage that we have recorded throughout the day. A lot of the time, in modern filmmaking, the only thing that you do to rushes is sync up the sound, and then that is it. So because we're making a silent film, or as in like the rushes had been made without sound, it was all silent. And it all started off really lovely and lighthearted, watching the stuff that we had literally made the day.
It was so amazing. Nice. They were like, say the lines along, and then like someone would say it, and it was just this beautiful moment where the entire crowd, they were all having their like side conversations, like little comments, just throwing it out here and there. Someone does their line, they laugh. It was just, it
was really joyous. It was a really good moment.
It was so immersive. It was so well done. And
it was so good. And it was like you were seeing a film crew that was so passionate about the project, just like laughing along with everything. It was really nice.
Like in LARP, you never get to see the stuff that you've done. You just never do. It's never on camera. That's half of the point of it. And even with Oasis 1, when we were on a film set, you get the pictures and things, but you don't see footage. And the actual genuine OC excitement of being like, oh my gosh, that's what was filmed and that's what it looks like. And that is
how
so
good it looked.
It looked amazing.
Yeah.
Effects and stuff, Millie. Like, yeah, they were really cool.
The effects going off.
It was
the
so
acting was perfect. Like, all of the cuts just made it feel, even if it wasn't authentic, it felt authentic. It was that verisimilitude that you were looking for. The bear.
It was really good.
Oh my god, watching the bear, we were laughing all the day, but the bear in the pic fitted perfectly. Best actor.
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
Best actor.
It was also fun being like having chats about like, oh, I remember when that was being shot earlier because this and this was happening.
Yeah.
Or it was like, it was really wholesome. It was really nice.
And then it cut with really these cute. Like I don't know, what was it, just like pictures
sort of a table
items,
stuff on there, and then a hand just like reached in, and but it was just a glitch. It was just a filming error. We were told.
It was at this moment where I started shitting myself in character because I knew what this meant. And for anyone interested, the hand that was taking the objects was specifically chosen to be a member of crew who had maybe similar hands to me because they filmed it in advance.
My god!
Because it was supposed to be me reaching to grab them.
Interesting.
Oh, that's cool. That's actually really cool. Yeah.
And then I was laughing along the whole time, and then when that happened, I went silent. For the rest of the thing, I was silent, just leaning forward, watching very intensely.
So did we outside, who had already anticipated something was going to go horribly wrong, and we were like, it's beginning.
Man, I did not. I was like, that's weird. Oh, look, the scene's back on. Immediately got swept back up in it. Like, immediately. It happened like 3 times. And I was still just like, that's strange. But I'm so excited about the rushes that it's fine,
And then it cut with something else.
Well, this was brilliant. The build up to that, because everyone being like, "Oh yeah, you'll have to watch the rushes. There's a really big explosion, but it takes a while. But stick with it." Had been going on for like an hour.
Have we mentioned the noose?
Oh, the noose showed up again.
That was
There was
also
also a bit where the noose came in.
Yeah, there was a bit with the noose as well.
okay. I think that might have been the point where things started getting a bit weird.
It was like picture, and then every now and again an item would get picked, so you knew all the items that you were looking for, and then the noose appeared, and then and then it was the safe explosion, which took forever.
Yeah. Wait for it, and everyone was going, whoa,
oh my God,
for like ages.
Yeah.
Or it was just about to explode.
Well, so while that was happening, also it also had cut with a nun
With a
walking
nun,
back
yeah.
and forth.
No, that was the
Across the
explosion.
set.
That was doing explosion.
That was in the middle of the
That was
explosion.
the last thing. So we were waiting for the explosion, and then it clicked to one of the street bits.
Yeah, where the
then
green
the
room.
nun walked across the back.
Yeah, and at
they
this point,
disappeared, and then she appeared very close.
We at the back had already started to see the nuns wielding candles walking over to the left. So we were shitting ourselves. We were like, "Oh my god, it's beginning! It's beginning!" Right, everyone, look down. Do not look up. Do not make eye contact with them. We are going to move in a second. When they all get here, we are going to move. You're going to follow me. We're going to go quietly. You're going to keep your eyes down. We're going to move. And at that point, we were shitting ourselves. Like we'd managed to scare ourselves. So it was intense. I was looking down. I went, Charlie, look down, follow us. And Pete, who was just standing there watching the rest, was like, okay. And so joins us, huddling, looking down. Other people that were with us or nearby, Archibald. That's worth noting for later.
He did Shakespeare, don't you know?
He did Shakespeare, don't you know?
He did do Shakespeare.
We're all sat there. And then just basically, something's going really weird. The nun keeps going down these different alleys. Then the guy who's doing the thing stands in front of the projector trying to work out what's going on. The explosion happens whilst he's stood in front of it. That was weird. What's going on? Someone screams.
Mm-hmm.
We look at the entrance, and there is a pale face with a candle in its hand.
It was a
right
proper door kick opening, double door moment, and it was oh my god, it was the most terrifying thing.
Yep. And at that point, we had gone. We would go. We were shitting ourselves. Half of us were crying. It was, so we were off, and we were heading.
Yeah, where did you go?
We were heading to one of the places known as the Alamo. There's quite a few Alamos on site, but there's a little hut just a ways away. If you go sort of behind where Gorgon chill, and we went and hid there. Eddie took us. It was like just go, keep your eyes, and we headed there. It was half of the security gang, Moira, Freddie, Charlie had ended up with this, and it was also Albert or whatever.
Oh my god! And then what did you
and
do?
all we heard while we were face down, staring, just don't look at them, were people screaming and gunshots, and we were convinced that this was the nightmare moment and everything had gone to shit and there was no saving us. Like at that point, it was like, no, this is it. This is the kickoff. We're preparing ourselves for a long evening. So we were terrified.
Jack recognized the ghosts. And shot them anyway. Because fuck. We had a very funny moment where we ran out the back of the commuter hall, did me and Mattie. And Mattie was like, hey, can I hold your hand? Because I'm going to fucking eat shit if I don't hold someone's hand. But we were fucking running everywhere until we came to the slow. I think it was when we saw George. Because then we saw George's ghost hobbling around on crutch.
No, so it wasn't.
No.
It was Callum NPCing.
George arrived a bit later. No, but we saw him, but that happened a bit later. So yeah, the three of us, Gianna, Eleanor, and Jack, went herring out the back immediately. Ran out into the street. I think Johnny was there as a ghost. We kind of got cornered a bit. I just remember screaming at you not to shoot because I was really worried that I don't know why I had this in my head. I thought oh my god, the bullets are going to go through the ghosts and hit someone behind. Mm-hmm. That was the thing that I thought was going to happen. Obviously it didn't because people were shooting and no one died. But I was like, oh, don't shoot. We ran for ages, ended up crowd back, and then I can't
Oh my
remember.
god.
I genuinely have no memory of how we suddenly figured out, no, they're not.
So
no
this was me. cares?
Was
So
it?
what it was Ellie. So OC, obviously me and Ellie, very good friends. And I was getting cornered by 4 ghosts. And they were all surrounded me. And I literally just reached out to Ellie and like touched her on the shoulder. And as soon as I touched the ghost on the shoulder, they blew their candle out and just vanished. And it was so effective because obviously it's pitch
It's so
black
good with
outside. They blow out the candle and they effectively just vanish because they're all wearing black. And so I was a little bit tipsy at this point, and I just scream at the top of my lungs, "Touch the ghosts!" And then I realised what I just said, and I went, "Touch the ghosts consensually and respectfully."
Oh, no.
And then I just and then I literally was just running around the town chasing the ghosts and touching them, like miming touching them, or like just literally just poking them, and they just
You were playing tag with the
effectively
ghosts.
I was,
You're playing
but
bubble
I was
pop.
also screaming like, "PTP Yates is the hero of this shoot," and it's just like it was the most ridiculous thing.
You running around like that, I have no memory of at all. It must have been part of the general soundscape of things. But I think from the moment the ghosts first appeared, the rest of the evening was so emotionally
so intense.
and so immersed that so little of what was going on around filtered through at all.
Yeah,
But oh my god. The ghosts were great. We had a similar thing at Oasis one. I think this was way stronger. I think they really built on that effect. But using the candles for the ghosts, but like the makeup and
So
everything,
good.
it was very effective. And then they were like, "Oh, we're being herded. We're being heard. They want us to follow. They want us to follow. They want us to follow." And so we started going down. And yeah, Morgan helped me down the road because I was like, I'm going to slip over and break an ankle in the dark. If I don't, thank you. He was standing there clicking the gun. Like, click, click, click.
There was a moment
It was
where, as well,
horrifying.
when we were running around terrified as well, Gianna screamed, "I need a gun," and Jack handed her his gun, which ended up being a very powerful moment for later. I think it helped persuade Gianna one way rather than the other. But then I had my backup, my other gun, which again we were using. Again, like you say, I recognized the ghosts. I knew who these people were. They were my colleagues. They were my friends. And I was just sat spinning the fucking barrel, more stressed than I've ever been in my entire life.
I also remember at one point you said something to Becca, who was being a ghost next to us, and then just leaned over to me and went, "So there's like gunshots all over them." And in my head, I didn't even think, but that was such a crew thing for you to do. Like, by the way, there's gunshots on them. Hint, hint.
Yeah, they've been shot to
And
shit.
I was like, oh my god, oh no, there's gunshots everywhere. Pass it on, everyone. Fucking unwitting accomplice.
it was so good though because
that walk felt
and
so
it was
long.
the
That
way
was the
that they
longest
kept
walk.
on like just silently leading us, and like, and they'd stop and they'd pause and they'd float away and then they'd come back. But it was incredible.
So
it was so good. And so we were all going down and we get led past the fort, into the bushes, through the trees, and then we get faced with a massive pit in the ground. And what did we find in the ground, guys?
Morgan?
Just some bones.
Just bones.
Skeletons, roughly the same number of skeletons as there were
My
ghosts.
Yeah, it was weird that. It was really weird. What a strange coincidence. Someone jumped into the pit and they started digging around, which was horrifying, you know.
They were
I was just
trying to work
digging around in the graves.
Well, it was like they're trying to work out why they brought us here, and there was loads of clues out as to what's happening. I went round individually to every ghost and silently said sorry.
Oh,
Not silently, under my breath. I apologized.
This
Clicking my
was
gun.
another one of those fateful "Where is Jack" moments, because you were there and then you weren't, and I was like, that's weird. And the next time I saw you, you were in the pit.
Yeah,
And you were
I was
spinning the
spinning the
gun.
barrel. I kept saying, this can't be happening, this can't be happening, this can't be happening, this can't be happening, over and over again. Obviously, something people would respond to if there was a haunting. That's not why I was doing it. And I went into the pit, and everyone was like, we're taking the light out, you won't see anything. I said, it's okay, you can take them away. And they're like, Jack, there's nothing else to find. I'm like, it's okay. And I just sat in the pit, surrounded by the bones of my friends, just looking very sad.
You looked so sad. I was really concerned you were going to be doing something stupid. I was like, nah, this is death. This is death territory for whatever is going on with that. Or you're going to turn around and start shooting people.
I think it's important to remember that this evening I sat in that pit, because I think that's going to be relevant later. But I sat in that pit, and it was in that moment that I resolved that it can't have all been for nothing. I can't have gone through this and put them through this for nothing. So I got out, said sorry to Becca again, and then and then started to file back to town.
You were not the last person at the pit, because there were about 6 of us who stayed back. And someone, I think it might have been Roger, was like, we should say a prayer for the dead. And as
it was Dave.
Oh, was it? Yes, it was. It was Dave as producer Charlie. Yeah. And we all stood around, and most people had left, and there were basically like 2 ghosts left. So the lighting was minimal, because no one really had lanterns or anything. It wasn't something we'd really anticipated for this. And we all just stood around and did like a little prayer for the dead. And it was really poignant. And then I could tell that we weren't supposed to have been that late, because I was at the very back of the queue. I was walking very slowly, heels. They were slow. They were not my fastest ones. I've had better since then. But walking through the back, every now and then I would get to a crossroads, and there would be a crew member go, oh, and like lift the light back up so I could see where I was going. I was like, thank you. But man, yeah, atmospheric. Because I was last back, by the time I got back to town, things were already chaotic.
Well, so, none of the security ended up anywhere near you. You lot.
You didn't come to the pit,
what were you doing?
You didn't come to the pit. So once everything had calmed down, we headed back into town, and it was eerily quiet because no one was there. Bearing in mind, again, we have just scared ourselves silly. Okay, we've managed to do half of the work for them in scaring ourselves because we thought it was a bigger thing than it was. So we're preparing to leave at this point. And the first thing Hagen says just goes, right, we're going to prepare to leave. Everybody loot the town. And at that point, we just loot the place. Just everything. We check every building, any money lying around, the money behind the bar, any money laying out on services, any silverware, any metal, we put in a sack. We loot the fucking place.
Oh my God.
And we have a chat. We prepare about, like, are we going? And there was a lot of, like, are we going now? Are we not going now? What are we doing? Are we going now? Are we not going now? But we got everything ready, and we sort of discussed what the plan was. And then we decided, well, we haven't seen anyone. So maybe we wait just to see if anyone does return. Make a barricade. So we set up a barricade. We pull things over facing the entrance to the town, where if anyone's going to come back, that's their entrance. We put Benny, the brand guns set up. All of the security have got guns just pointing. And the idea is we ask you what production were you on, and if you can answer that,
that's smart.
If you can answer that, we won't shoot you. But there also was a little bit going through our minds of, do we just shoot them all just in case, you know? And I genuinely think half the crew were also panicking, because again, we're not thinking that any of that has happened. We're thinking that most of you are dead, possessed. Like, we think we're on full nightmare mode at this point because we haven't seen anything, right? So we're like, okay, well, this is it. Anyone who comes back through who's not convinced enough is going to get it. So there's also another bit that happens at this point where we're sort of waiting around with the barricade. And we're looting the town. We're sort of just about to leave, just about not to leave, just about to leave. Okay, we're leaving. And then suddenly, I hear this pistol bang about a meter behind me. and a body drop.
Oh God.
Who is it? Who died there and then?
It wasn't one of mine. Like,
It
this
wasn't
isn't
one
me.
of yours. This
He
one.
did,
This one.
he did
Wait,
Shakespeare, don't you know?
we found that out later. Do you not?
Why did you kill him?
No.
So while I was at the hospital,
Oh, Archibald.
Archibald. So I think it was during the police turning up. Archibald had decided to turn on inverted commas, turn on the security and dob in both Russell and Benny for assault. He decided, went up to the Spanish police officer and tried to get Benny and Russell charged with assault. At which point they weren't very, very happy with them. And so Benny wanted to get Archibald done in. And he was just looking for the opportunity to do it. And he'd rather not do it himself. So the way he managed to do it was, he spoke about him being a snitch, because he is. He was a snitch. But he also then went, he's a snitch. I think he could be an agent, like a special agent. I think he could be British SIS. At which point, Russell agreed to do the deed, because apparently he'd also been given information that the British intelligence were looking for him.
Sneaky motherfucker.
So at that point, bang, Russell had just absolutely, shot Archibald, drop. That was it. Clear it up. At that point, both Moira and Freddie start going. Moira burst into tears because she's not prepared for any of this. It was very obvious what's happening here. We're trying to cover it all up. Clear the body, dump it. But yeah, and that just threw the scent off me for being SIS entirely. I didn't even have to do that. Thanks Digby for that one.
Unbelievable.
And
I had no
Archibald
idea.
got it. It was
That's
one of the most
insane.
satisfying LARP deaths I think I've ever witnessed. It really was just bang, drop. I was
Jesus.
like, what the hell? Really good. I can't remember the player's name right now, but I believe it was only their second
Cole?
time playing ever.
Cole, yeah.
Second LARP ever, maybe.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
not ever.
Incredible. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
Unbelievable. It was really the first we heard about it is I met some guy later on the evening. I was like, "Thanks, Archibald." I went, "No, my name's Larry," and I went, "I'm not allowed to react to this."
You didn't quite that quick. It was, no, my name's Larry.
Oh, sorry.
So again,
Yeah.
if listeners, you didn't really understand from the first episode, the security are most definitely the bad guys. We looted the town and killed another
You
person.
were the villain. You were the villain. 100%.
Absolutely.
The real
But
villains.
they'll get their comeuppance. They will. I promise that.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh man, I think so. You two, Millie and Morgan, you guys must have come back a lot sooner, and I think from what was happening around the grave, we'd kind of realised, oh, we need to collect all these things and bring them back. These weird items that have been appearing, because there had been some strange items that had weird effects throughout the afternoon.
Yeah.
But so did everyone just go straight to that when they got back?
So it was like, in terms of the crew, a lot of them kind of went into full-on investigation mode. So P was just chilling out and having a nice time. But there was a group of people in the community hall just watching the rushes over and over again and like taking notes and things like that. So it was myself, the person who was the dialect coach, or the
authenticity.
yeah, that one. They were there, and Kitty was there. And we were all just dissecting the rushes, and like there was a particular insert when it was an insert of the props being taken away. There was, so for context, there was a painting, a knife, a mirror, a pearl necklace, a bottle of wine, and I think that
Chalice? Was there a chalice?
Maybe a chalice.
Was it just a bottle?
I think it was just the bottle.
It was the bottle.
And when the knife was getting picked up, or when one of the props was getting picked up, you could see the nun in the mirror.
That was the necklace.
Yeah.
That was the one I did.
So it was like we were just dissecting it all and being like, where are they? Because like we were like, okay, the clue is in the rushes. That's where they're all hidden.
The lights were going all weird.
Oh
as
yeah,
well,
the lights kept flickering as well. It was all just very atmospheric and very horrible. And
that totally wasn't Jay having fun with the remote control.
Yeah.
You could see him standing by the window. I was like, why are the lights flickering? That's so terrifying.
Yeah, they were having so much fun.
They found most things, right? Well, finding the knife was
pretty easy.
A bit of a moment.
So, but we had the knife, the pearls were from earlier, right, as well. So it was knife.
No, so the pearls came in to set at this point after the knife. Because I dealt with the pearls slightly afterwards.
Sure. Okay. So the knife was a lot earlier, and then we'd had like this list, because I think I said we'd found like the prop list, which was everything but other painting. So we were already sort of on lookout for half of these things. We also had all of the other notes that were all about this. So it was at this point that all of this information was sort of really coming out and allowing us to talk about it again and really go over and try and solve it. So yeah, we sort of the rest of us stocked up in the green room.
On the knife.
I have no idea how that happened. I have no idea how that happened.
You were the villain of this
Larp.
I don't believe
you.
So I don't know.
Are you genuinely? I don't believe you.
No, that's honest.
About...
The knife wasn't where we left it, because I'd already asked Moira, and Moira said it had already been used and been put elsewhere.
Yeah, we did. We talk about right. Jack killed 4 people. Well, actually, attempted to kill 4 people, killed 3. I think my kill count's way lower than fucking security.
Security.
I
don't think you were the villain.
Callum died 4 times over the course of this evening. Like, I'm not being...
He didn't ask for 2 of those deaths. He didn't specifically request 2 of those deaths.
But it was pretty intense.
We have quite a lot going on Saturday, guys. But to speak through what was going on quickly, from what I knew, I came back into town. Everyone is everywhere trying to find these artifacts. Howard Hagen walks past me with his hands dripping blood and goes, "Ha, wasn't me."
Oh my god, it just pretty much what happened.
Exactly.
Oh, because I was sat right next to him.
You didn't know this? So Howard Hagen got the knife, and the knife made you go immediately to try and kill the person you hated the most, right? So he walked straight up to the producer, Charlie, played by Dave, and stabbed him to death.
It was brutal.
I think I asked him point blank, "Did you do this?" And he went, "I didn't." And I was like, "Oh, buddy, no, buddy." He definitely killed him. That, and then the necklace. For me, I think the rushes was sort of the beginning of the big emotional sort of arc, but then the necklace was where it really kicked off, because Gianna came back into town sort of like weeping and shaking, being guided in holding this necklace. And I was like, oh, okay, I've got like this neck scarf that I've been wearing the whole time. If I like go and take it from her in the neck scarf, then I can help out, because this is Gianna, we've bonded now. I'll go and help the girl out. Number 6, got to do my duty here. So I went and I grabbed it with the scarf, and I can't remember who was with her. I think it might have been Moira. Just leaned over and went, "That doesn't help you. You still feel these things." I was like, "Oh, shit. Whoopsie." She's like, "Yes, you feel cold. You feel a sense of dread. You feel like you're being chased wherever you are. This nun is coming to get you. Sense of bad things happening." So I ended up just dropping down to the floor and like shaking in a tiny ball as Gianna came over and was like, "It's okay, okay," when we're like crying, and they finally got the necklace away from me. So we had this moment of like, oh my god, what have we just both been through? We're both absolutely hysterical. It's terrible and awful. And that's not when I asked her to stay, but it's definitely set up for it. Has anyone got anything else before I go on to that? What were you doing?
I wanted to talk about the fact that so again, there was several moments. I think this is when I saw Gianna break up with Clark Gettinger. because Clark Daytona had run off, and she was like, "Jack handed me a gun. Elder was there with me." She was like, she yelled at it. It was like, "I need someone to." It was fantastic. I'm kind of
This is
going around.
one of the few times that she had to break up with Clark Daytona
Yeah,
because
yeah,
she didn't
yeah,
get
yeah.
it.
I was getting very stressed. I went over to the security area and saw they had a bunch of papers, and I went absolutely apeshit that I had not seen these papers. And I think everyone was actually just kind of a bit confused as to why I was blowing my lid.
We were
like,
very confused.
yeah, they're like, "What's going on, dude?" And I was like freaking the fuck out that Jack Danford's name was going to be in those papers.
It
But
makes a
mine-
lot of sense
Yeah.
after the fact, whereas during the fact, there was a little bit of like we couldn't tell whether that rage was IC or OC.
Oh,
So we were
that's a
like,
shame.
that was the slightly problem, because I don't know. I think we've all encountered players who have said those things in the past, and it was just like we couldn't tell. And we were like,
Yeah.
Too undercover.
you were too undercover that it was like we genuinely thought you were just pissed off, and we were
You're
like,
just too good at LARP.
That's a
Gorgon,
shame.
You're too good.
Yeah, it made
Clearly.
sense after the fact.
Yeah,
but
that's
at the
a
time we
shame.
were
But
like,
I think at this point in the evening as well is like everybody was exhausted because it had been a very long day. It was, the weather was hot, and it was like a thing. So I think a lot of the ICOC mix got in the way, especially when it got late at night, because this was about 11:30 midnight.
yeah. At this point, I think Moira, as in Scarlet, had crashed fully. I was knackered after going to A&E.
I had a
Freddie
couple
was
of people
tired
be a
too.
bit.
So I think that was.
during the day.
I think that was also more why we didn't really get it at the time, because we just were
Yeah,
not.
everyone was. That's fine. That was just very much the moment where I was like shitting myself, and that's why I marched back into town and went to the Nina Romano and Frank Romano, who both knew about the painting, and said, "We need to get this painting out of here now. I need to get gone. This paper even if I don't leave, if there's not room in me for this painting needs to leave now." We start having to convince Gianna that we have to leave. Gianna and Eleanor are crying in each other's arms.
No.
She doesn't want to leave.
Yeah, I turned to Ruth and I thought this is a perfect moment. She can go with it or she can not go with it. Nothing in the thing that we've been given when we were given the necklace said this, but I just turned to her and I went, "But Gianna, you felt it too. We can't leave. We have to finish this." And she went, her face crumbled. It was beautiful. And she went, "But my brother, I can't leave. But John," and she, within seconds, we were like sobbing on the floor, and the whole Romanos were like, "We need to go." You were off marching into the trees, pacing up and down. You're like, "What is going on?"
I literally said to Frank, I said, "I'll go start the car," basically, because I already said I know how to hotwire a car. So I was like, "I'll go start the car." I run in the general direction of the car. Now, here's the thing. Turns out Jack doesn't know where the car was because the car has moved. Jack stumbles off into the woods and finds himself staring down the barrel of a gun. And an American chap is standing there with a New York accent. He's like, "Where are you going? Let's wander back to town, shall we?" We start to wander back.
Oh, wow, they got you really far down the road then.
And Frank, no, it's really, I literally ran out. Before I didn't get to the car, I kind of got out of town. And
they got you.
This was little peek behind the curtain. I ran to crew like, "Hey, I'm about to get the Romanas out of here. Have you got a plan for that?" And I saw a bunch of people. I saw a bunch of people dressed up like New York gangsters. And I was like, awesome. Right. Good. We've planned for this. I get taken back to town with a gun at my back, and I'm like, "Frank, can you just Frank? No one else. Just Frank Romano, please. Just Frank. That would be great. Thank you." And Frank comes over. He's like, "Oh yeah, Jack, do you know where the car is? You ran off." And I was like, "This lovely gentleman behind me would like to have a word." and I'm like, gun in my back, and he looks over. He's like, "Oh," he's like, "Hey, the boss has sent me to have a word. Family matter, though. You might want to grab your family." So Frank goes back. Whilst I'm there, gun to my back.
I remember it being the weirdest sudden switch because they'd been so desperate. Like, I'd at one point had been holding on to Ruth while like Nina was like grabbing Ruth's arm to try and pull her away. And we'd had this whole, I was like, don't worry, like, I'll look after it. We just need like another night. I'll make sure she gets out if you need to. It's fine. Like, we'll be safe. I'll get her back. We'll go to London. I've got this. I can take care of her, blah, blah, blah. It was a whole thing. I was like, Gianna can stay too. This is fine. Everything is going to be fine. Like, we just need one more night to find this thing. And then like Frank came back over and was like, we just need 30 minutes. We just need 30 minutes. Family meeting. I was like, that's weird. That's really strange. And I cannot for the life of me remember why I went with. I think they just gave up trying to stop and were like, I do remember. Because they said, don't worry. We were like, both Ruth and I, or Jana and Eleanor were like, but where did Jack go? And they're like, oh, it's fine. Jack's just over here. Just come over here. And so we walked around the building and it was Jack and a person with a gun. And I just was like, and they grabbed me. Ruth was like, shh, stop. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. I was like, what is happening? OC, I was like, how have they arranged? Like, what is this? What's happening here? This is insane. It's amazing, though.
We walk down into the woods, down the path.
Second long, dark walk of the evening.
Through the fucking dark, walking through all the way to the bottom, and there's like a little cut through where you go right through like a tunnel of plants kind of thing. And down there is a beautiful 1930s black car parked up. It's kind of floodlit, and you can just see like 5 or 6 people in suits or blacks, all kind of like one at the front, slowly fading off into the black as there's more hiding in the woods. And we all kind of arrive. Eleanor's like, Jack, what's going on? I was like, don't talk, just stay quiet, let them sort it out. And then Jack and Ella, I hope as picture this, Jack and Ella stood there like holding hands, like just 2 people just not involved in this in any way.
Why are we here? We should not be involved in this. But that was when you turned to me and very quietly just went, I have another gun. I've got it in my pocket. And I was like, oh, okay, great, wonderful, I think. Although they'll probably shoot us. And took the bat so that you could have the gun for it.
They then proceed to have a conversation in which it turns out that Gianna Romano broke the heart of this guy's like nephew at some point. This is the Firenze family from New York, and basically they'd heard about this. They'd heard where she was, and he'd recently died. This person whose heart she'd broken, and they were like, that seemed wrong. That seemed strange that had happened. Strange coincidence, wouldn't you say? And they're having this conversation for ages about what to. I can't give credit to the whole family. Eventually, it comes to like, well, he lost his head, so how about a head for a head? And they're like, no, come on, don't do this. And they're like, okay.
Oh
eye for an eye. And pulled out a knife.
I tuned back in from the hysterics to the phrase "an eye for an eye," and I just turned around to Jack and I was like, "What did they say? What I think they said?" Jana starts shrieking, like incoherently, grabbing Giorno, being like, "You've got to do it, and it has to be me."
Initially, it was going to be Frank. Frank was going to lose his eye, and then Nina goes, "No, Frank, it can't be you. If we go back to New York and you've had your eye taken out, we'll lose everything."
And they'd already negotiated, like, "Oh, we'll give you part of the docks," and da da da.
Yeah, and it was going to have to be Gianna, and he brought
like Ren slapped. Nina slapped Gianna.
Yeah, Nina slapped Gianna because she was panicking, and she slapped her. And then literally brought back up again. And then, I was like grabbing you. I was like, don't go. Just shut up. Let them forget we're here.
I think we slapped backwards a little bit as well, just to get out of range. But my God.
Guy brings out a knife. And she's like, no, please. Let Giorno do it. Her twin. He's a surgeon. And he has a scalpel. And they're like, yeah, sure. That's fine. Giorno gets his scalpel out. And he's like, fucking breathing very heavily, and honestly kind of brings it up to her eye and twists his hand. And I don't think I ever heard a more blood-curdling screech from Gianna as she just collapses to the ground, holding her face, screaming. God, she kept saying, "Who's gonna love me now?" Like over and over again.
She's like, I'm so like, oh, I'm ruined, blah blah blah. It was horrible. I'd been like, I don't know if I can look. I didn't look in the end. I was like, I can't watch this. I cannot watch this. And she was on the ground. They filed past us with these smarmy smiles that I don't think I'll ever forget. Genuinely, like, yeah, we've just done this thing. I was like, wow. Ran straight towards her, and I was just on the ground immediately with Ruth being like, no, it's fine. We'll sort this out for you. I'll get you. You can have as many glasses. Like, look at you, you're still beautiful. You know, it's wonderful. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. We'll go back to London. I'll buy you any glass eyes you want. All of the glass eyes. Just kept going on about these glass eyes. It was hysterical. And it was insane. But it was so, like, I remember how dark it was as well. Because when we went down to the grave, there were quite a lot of ghosts and there were people with lanterns. But when it was just the 6 of us, plus then the Forenzos, it was dark in that pathway. It was so dark. But we managed to start walking back up, and we came up the path, and we were found by Alicia, Lydia, and someone else, possibly Wayne Martin. I cannot remember who the third person was. And Lydia ran straight up to me. I was like cradling Gianna, being like, come on, we're going to be okay. And she just went, you promised you wouldn't leave? We came to find you because you promised you wouldn't leave. I was like,
yeah,
I don't think I have enough emotions left for this right now. I'm like hyperventilating. Like it was amazing. But oh my God, it was intense. And we managed to get back to town, which thankfully is more or less where Saturday ends.
I spent a lot of time in the bar that evening talking about how nothing mattered. I'm leaving set tomorrow. All my money worries are done. Kept doing drugs, kept talking about how I'm going to be rich and everything's fine. Over and over, very loudly.
Yeah,
it's
I
fine.
thought you were going to be rich because you were going to be marrying into money.
Yeah, the three of us were going to have a traditional 3-way Catholic wedding.
Classic.
I was discussing with Nina. I was discussing with Nina how to. Oh crap! The car got. Oh my god! The car got stolen whilst Nina had the painting in her hands, and I ran after the car. And everyone was like, "Why did you do that?" It's because the painting was there. Every action I did from having the painting was purely because I needed to have my hands on the fucking painting constantly. But yeah, I was gonna be very rich in the bar, doing lots of drugs, talking about how rich I was going to be. How excited I was to leave set and be rich. Yeah, clearly because I was going to be married. No, it's because I had millions practically of dollars waiting for me when I got off set. But that was Saturday. We kind of committed that we were all going to get married.
Yeah, I mean, I think after everyone dropped OC, we were like, maybe we need to. There was a lot of fake cocaine involved. That was a thing. Trauma bonding is a thing. But like the whole thing. Let's point out here that Clark had struggled to get the approval of the Romanos, and we managed it. We both managed that. They did approve. And it was fun. It was like that moment after you've almost died like 4 times in an evening where you're like, yeah, we'll go to Tuscany. We'll get married. Sure, let's do it. That's crazy. Why not? Let's live, you know? And then probably one of the most interesting moments in hindsight for me actually happened after we all dropped OC, because this little cheeky fuck came over and was like, just want to check in on something. Just want to check in. But it's betrayal or something. Like, is that okay? Like, just in case, you know? And I was like, oh, sure.
We didn't really have a conversation about ball gowning. It's kind of crazy that we're here. How do you feel about just absolute betrayal tomorrow? And she went,
yeah, I think I said, fuck me up, man. That sounds great. Yeah, whatever you want. I was like thinking, oh, you as a player, you're going to do something shady and like run away with some, like, you're going to run off, survive, and I will be left to die. You know, that's cool. Hilarious. Not hilarious, but great roleplay. Sure, fuck me up, whatever. Do it. That's brilliant.
And that's where we're going to leave it.
And that was Saturday for us. That was Saturday.
Yeah. I love this. I love how different each of our games were. Because I was just hanging out with the film crew all evening, and you guys were going off and having your whole like thing, and then the security game was all going off. It was great. I like hats off.
Yeah.
Yeah. and hats off to the game organizers as well, because like it is no mean feat. Firstly, organizing a group of LARPers, but also giving every single main group their own like incredibly detailed storyline. So good.
Oh, I get it. But like casual.
Let's face it, it's also props for every player playing their roles to a T. Like, that's the real thing. No one really went too far outside this. Wow.
Yeah, no, when you... There's always like a vibe as well. Yeah, you commit to it, but there's also a vibe when you're walking around and oh, this one's what's life on kind of find the vibe. And I think it was when things tipped over into the real intensity that I was like, wow, okay, this is good. And then I just dragged Ruth along, and she absolutely went for it. And I was like, okay, you want to play this game.
I also think that's testament to your characters, because I think a side thing of that is I don't feel like I had too many moments this event where it was like that drops to OC, because, and I think this is sort of key, different roles you could just small talk, and everyone was willing to just do that small
really
talk.
good.
That was half the game.
The
and
character
it was great.
RP, yeah. I mean, again, I didn't do anything plot-wise until like 4:00 on Saturday.
Yeah.
It was just purely just interacting in character.
So good.
And even then, I didn't know I was doing plot-wise stuff.
But anyway, very briefly, thank you so much for our Patreons. You keep us all going. In particular this week, thank you so much to Rook. Thank you so much, Rook. You're incredible and wonderful, and you've been supporting us for over a year now. Fucking hell. But yeah, where can we find you, Morgan? Tell us about where you reside in the world of LARP.
Yes, hello. I host Larps and Tarps with a bunch of other wonderful people, where we cover a large chunk of this time is Empire, but we also do cover kind of other LARP systems. And yeah, you can find us there. But nonetheless, that's where you can find me. Or I'm also on Instagram at Glorious Larper.
Oh yeah, and Mattie and Sol, what about you guys?
You can find us on the Dead Shattersong Diaries, even though we are massively behind on that one. Again, too many LARPs. Too many LARPs. Or hijacking other podcasts that'll take us.
We're just mercenaries. We're free for all. We'll go on any podcast. It's easier than doing our own.
Oh my god!
Invite us along. This is like the fourth
else to
time I've been on LARP Noobs at this point. I'm like, yeah, hi.
Well, you're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
And with that, I'm gonna round out the podcast. So we'll see you guys next week for part 3 of our Oasis 2 coverage. Woohoo!